The aircraft was not supposed to be findable. That was its entire purpose. The Eitam, Israel's modified Gulfstream G550 conformal airborne early warning and control aircraft, was designed to see everything and be seen by nothing. It operates at 41,000 feet, far above the ceiling of most surface-to-air missile systems. It carries the ELW-2085 radar suite, an active electronically scanned array system capable of detecting aerial targets at ranges exceeding 400 kilometers. It tracks 1,000 objects simultaneously. It provides real-time battle management data to every Israeli fighter, every air defense battery, every naval vessel, and every ground command post in the theater. It is, in the most literal sense, the brain of the Israeli Air Force, not the muscle, the brain, the thing that tells the muscle where to go, what to hit, and what is coming. On day 33 of Operation Epic Fury, at 4:47 a.m. local time, the brain went dark. An Israeli Eitam AWACS aircraft operating over the eastern Mediterranean, approximately 80 kilometers west of the Lebanese coastline, was struck by a surface-to-air missile launched from southern Lebanese territory. The aircraft did not explode in midair. It did not disintegrate. The missile detonated in proximity to the port engine nacelle, severing hydraulic lines, shredding the engine cowling, and sending fragmentation into the fuselage that punctured the pressurized cabin in at least 3 locations. The aircraft entered an uncontrolled descent from 41,000 feet. The crew of 12, 6 flight crew and 6 mission systems operators initiated emergency procedures. The pilot managed to stabilize the aircraft at approximately 15,000 feet and began an emergency diversion toward Ramat David Air Base in northern Israel. The aircraft landed 23 minutes later with one engine inoperative, partial hydraulic failure, and structural damage to the wing root and forward fuselage that multiple aviation analysts have subsequently described as beyond economical repair. Beyond economical repair. That is the phrase the insurance industry uses. In military terms, it means the aircraft is destroyed. Not in flames, not in wreckage scattered across the Mediterranean. Destroyed in the way that matters. It will never fly again. Its radar array is compromised. Its structural integrity is gone. Its mission systems were damaged by fragmentation, decompression, and the violent aerodynamic forces of an uncontrolled descent at Mach 0.8. The airframe that landed at Ramat David is not an airplane. It is evidence. Israel has 4 Eitam AWACS aircraft. It now has 3. And the one it lost was not shot down by Iran. It was shot down by Hezbollah from Lebanon with a weapon that should not have been able to reach it. Now, here's the question that the Israeli Air Force does not want to answer publicly. How does a Hezbollah surface-to-air missile reach 41,000 feet? The answer to that question is the reason this single shoot-down changes the air war more fundamentally than any missile strike on any airfield, any factory, or any command bunker in the previous 32 days of this conflict. Hezbollah's known air defense inventory prior to this war consisted primarily of short and medium-range systems. Man-portable air defense systems like the SA-18 Igla and the SA-24 Grinch, effective to approximately 12,000 feet. Vehicle-mounted systems like the SA-8 Gecko and the SA-17 Grizzly, effective to approximately 25,000 feet. These systems are dangerous to helicopters, low-flying jets, and drones. They are not dangerous to an AWACS aircraft cruising at 41,000 feet. At that altitude, the Eitam was above the engagement envelope of every known Hezbollah weapon. It was supposed to be untouchable. It flew its orbit patterns over the eastern Mediterranean every day of this war, providing the Israeli Air Force with the situational awareness that made coordinated multi-front operations possible. It was the most important single aircraft in the Israeli inventory. And it flew without fighter escort because nothing in Lebanon was supposed to be able to reach it. Something reached it. And based on the engagement altitude, the trajectory analysis conducted by multiple independent defense researchers using open-source flight tracking data and impact angle estimates from the damage photographs, the weapon that reached it was not anything in Hezbollah's previously known inventory. The weapon was almost certainly a long-range surface-to-air missile with an engagement ceiling above 80,000 feet and a range exceeding 200 kilometers. There is only one missile system that matches those parameters, that has any plausible connection to Hezbollah's supply chain, the Russian-manufactured S-300PMU-2 Favorit, alternatively designated by NATO as the SA-20B Gargoyle, a system that Iran purchased from Russia in 2016, received delivery of in 2017, and has operated in its own air defense network since 2018. Iran gave Hezbollah an S-300. That sentence, if confirmed, changes the strategic landscape of this war and every future conflict in the region more than any single event since the first missile was launched on day 1. Because the S-300 is not a battlefield air defense system. It is a strategic air defense system. It is the system that guards Moscow. It is the system that protects Iran's nuclear facilities. It is the system that NATO spent decades developing tactics to defeat and billions of dollars building stealth aircraft to evade. And it is now in the hands of a non-state militia operating from the hills of southern Lebanon, 80 kilometers from the Israeli border. The implications are cascading and catastrophic. First, the operational impact. Israel operates 4 Eitam AWACS aircraft. 1 is now destroyed. The remaining 3 must now be pulled back from their operating orbits over the eastern Mediterranean. They cannot fly within 200 kilometers of the Lebanese border. That is the engagement range of the S-300. The orbits that the Eitam has been flying since day 1 of this war, the orbits that provide radar coverage of Lebanese, Syrian, and Iranian airspace, are now inside a kill zone. Without the AWACS orbiting at its standard position, the Israeli Air Force loses its primary airborne surveillance and battle management platform for the northern theater. Ground-based radars can partially compensate, but ground-based radars have a fundamental limitation. They cannot see over the horizon. The curvature of the Earth limits ground-based radar detection of low-flying targets to approximately 30 to 40 kilometers, depending on terrain and antenna height. The Eitam at 41,000 feet can see 400 kilometers in every direction. It can detect a cruise missile launched from Syria before it crosses the Lebanese border. It can track a drone swarm forming over the Bekaa Valley before the drones reach operational altitude. It can identify hostile aircraft at distances that give Israeli fighters 15 to 20 minutes of warning to intercept. Without it, the warning time shrinks from 20 minutes to less than 5. Cruise missiles that were previously detected at 300 kilometers are now detected at 40. Drone swarms that were tracked from formation to target are now detected only when they cross the radar horizon at close range. The entire early warning architecture for the northern front has collapsed from strategic depth to tactical proximity. Israel's air superiority over Lebanon, which has been absolute and unchallenged for 42 years since the 1982 invasion, ended at 4:47 a.m. on day 33. Second, the fighter aircraft impact. Israeli F-35I, F-15I, and F-16I aircraft have been conducting strike missions over Lebanon and Syria throughout this war. Those missions depend on the AWACS for threat warning, target coordination, and deconfliction, ensuring that Israeli aircraft do not accidentally engage each other or friendly assets in a complex multi-axis battle space. Without the AWACS overhead, those missions become exponentially more dangerous. Pilots lose their primary source of situational awareness. They must rely on their own onboard radars, which have shorter range and narrower field of view. They must coordinate through ground-based command posts, which introduce communication delays measured in seconds that matter when missiles are traveling at Mach 4. And they must do all of this while operating within 200 kilometers of an S-300 battery that just demonstrated it can reach 41,000 feet. The S-300 does not only threaten AWACS aircraft. It threatens every aircraft that enters its engagement zone. F-35 stealth reduces, but does not eliminate the detection probability against the S-300's 64N6E2 radar. The S-300's 48N6E2 missile has a maximum speed of Mach 6. It carries a 150 kilogram fragmentation warhead. It has a kill probability per missile of approximately 80% against non-maneuvering targets and 40 to 60% against maneuvering targets. Israeli fighters are now operating in airspace that contains a strategic air defense system capable of engaging them at ranges and altitudes they have never faced from Lebanese territory. The rules of the air war over Lebanon just changed completely. Third, the strategic proliferation impact. Iran giving an S-300 to Hezbollah is not just a military decision. It is a proliferation decision. It crosses a threshold that Russia, the manufacturer, explicitly conditioned its sale on. When Russia sold the S-300 to Iran in the mid-2010s, the contract included end-user agreements restricting the transfer of the system or its components to third parties. Russia accepted the diplomatic cost of selling the system to Iran because Iran was a sovereign state with a recognized government and a legitimate air defense requirement. Transferring that system to a non-state actor operating in a third country violates the end-user agreement, violates Russian export control law, and creates a precedent that every arms exporting nation on Earth has spent decades trying to prevent. If Iran can give an S-300 to Hezbollah, then the framework that governs the transfer of advanced weapon systems between states and non-state actors is no longer functional. Every future arms sale, every end-user certificate, every export control agreement is now undermined by the demonstrated reality that a buyer can simply hand the weapon to a proxy the moment it becomes strategically useful to do so. Russia has not commented on the transfer. Russia has not confirmed or denied that the system in Lebanon is an S-300. Russia has not issued a statement condemning the violation of its export agreements. The silence from Moscow tells you everything. Either Russia approved the transfer quietly, which means it is now complicit in arming a non-state actor with strategic weapons, or Russia did not approve it and cannot enforce its own export controls, which means its arms sales guarantees are worthless. Either outcome damages Russia's position as a major arms exporter, and either outcome benefits Iran which has now demonstrated that it can arm its proxies with whatever it wants, regardless of the original seller's conditions. Fourth, the precedent for future conflicts. Every military in the world that depends on AWACS or similar airborne early warning aircraft for air superiority is now recalculating its threat environment. The United States operates E-3 Sentry and E-7 Wedgetail AWACS platforms. NATO operates E-3A aircraft out of Geilenkirch in Germany. Japan operates E-767 aircraft. South Korea, Australia, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Singapore, and Turkey all operate AWACS variants. Every single one of those aircraft shares the same vulnerability that the Eitam just demonstrated. They are large, slow, non-maneuverable platforms that rely on standoff distance for survivability. If the adversary can extend its air defense range to reach those standoff distances, the AWACS becomes a target instead of an asset. The S-300 has been exported to China, India, Algeria, Egypt, Venezuela, Vietnam, Belarus, Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan, and Greece. Its capabilities are well known. Its engagement envelope is well documented. What was not known until day 33 was that a non-state actor could acquire one and use it effectively against a first world air force operating the most advanced AWACS platform available. That knowledge is now public. Every adversary of every AWACS operating nation is studying this engagement. Every proxy group, every militia, every non-state military organization with a state sponsor is now aware that strategic air defense systems can be transferred, deployed, and used to shoot down the aircraft that make modern air superiority possible. The cost of the Eitam that was destroyed is approximately $500 million. That includes the Gulfstream G550 airframe, the ELW-285 radar system, the mission management computers, the secure communications suite, the electronic warfare self-protection systems, and the 15 years of software development that makes the system operational. $500 million lost to a single missile that cost approximately $1.5 million. The exchange ratio is catastrophic, and unlike fighters, AWACS aircraft cannot be replaced quickly. Israel ordered its 4-item aircraft from Israel Aerospace Industries. The production line is not active. Building a replacement requires restarting a manufacturing process that takes 3 to 4 years from order to delivery. In the meantime, Israel operates 3 AWACS aircraft instead of 4. 3 aircraft, covering a 360-degree threat environment across 4 active fronts: Lebanon, Syria, Iran, and the Red Sea. 3 aircraft providing 24-hour coverage, which requires continuous rotation, which means at any given time, only 1 aircraft is on station while 1 is in transit and 1 is on the ground for maintenance. 1 AWACS aircraft covering the entire Israeli battle space at any given moment. Before day 33, it was 2, now it is 1. And that one must stay outside the 200-kilometer kill zone of the S-300 in Lebanon, which pushes its orbit further west over the Mediterranean, which reduces its radar coverage of the threats approaching from the north and east, which creates exactly the blind spots that Iran and Hezbollah need to push more missiles through without detection. The Israeli Air Force has operated with air superiority over every square meter of its region for 4 decades. It has never lost an AWACS aircraft. It has never faced a strategic air defense system operated by a non-state actor on its border. It has never had to plan missions, assuming that its airborne command and control platform could be shot down. All 3 of those assumptions ended on day 33. Hegseth was asked about the shoot-down at a Pentagon briefing later that day. He confirmed that a partner nation aircraft had experienced a significant engagement event. He said the United States was working closely with Israel to address emerging air defense threats in the Northern Theater. He said American electronic warfare and intelligence assets would be made available to compensate for any temporary reduction in Israeli airborne surveillance capacity. He did not say the word AWACS. He did not say the word S-300. He did not say the word Hezbollah. He used the phrase significant engagement event 4 times in a 3-minute response. 4 times. As if the words themselves could reduce the magnitude of what happened at 4:47 a.m. Israel's air superiority was not defeated by an air force. It was not defeated by a superpower. It was defeated by a militia with a Russian missile system supplied by Iran, operated from a hilltop in southern Lebanon, fired at an aircraft that was not supposed to be reachable by anything in that militia's inventory. The muscle of the Israeli Air Force is intact, the fighters still fly, the bombs still fall. The missions continue, but the brain that coordinated all of it, the aircraft that saw everything, tracked everything, and managed everything, just landed at Ramat David with holes in its fuselage and a radar array that will never scan another horizon. The muscle is still there. The brain is bleeding. And a war fought without eyes in the sky is a war fought in the dark. Iran did not fire the missile. Hezbollah did. But the system came from Iran. The training came from Iran. The targeting data came from Iran. And the strategy, degrade the enemy's ability to see before you degrade the enemy's ability to fight, came from 40 years of Iranian preparation for exactly this moment. The eyes are closing. The schedule continues. If this breakdown showed you what no official statement is willing to admit, you're exactly where you need to be. Subscribe to Global War Brief and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. We track the losses, the systems, the failures, and the shifts that change how wars are fought while the press conferences are still choosing their vocabulary. Share this with someone who needs the full operational picture. The next phase is not coming. It is already here. Global War Brief. Stay informed. Stay ahead.